Today's guest is Jon Meadows. He's the owner of High End Headshots and a co-founder of Creative Transitions, which assist veterans as they transition out of the military. They help with headshots and video. They do hiring events, all aimed at helping them to do well in that transition as they move into the private sector, which is near and dear to my heart as a prior veteran. And then Jon is also the author of Making Bank with Photography. I love the subtitle because I love numbered lists, 10 Principles That Changed My Life. It's available on Amazon. I'll put the link in the description. Thank you for joining me today, Jon.
Hey, thanks for having me, Jeremy.
So for those who have not met you or chatted with you, talk about yourself. Talk about your background, who you are, what you do, and where you're from.
Sure. I grew up in a small family. I have a younger sister, mom and dad. My dad is a Reformed Baptist pastor in New Hampshire. My mom was the homeschooling mom, played the piano at church, kind of led a bunch of the fun events the church would do, the picnic or whatever. My mom babysat to supplement income because my dad left electrical engineering. He would probably be making very, very good money now. He took a pay cut then, and so he had a lower income. My mom would babysit one kid at a time before they went to kindergarten for 50 hours a week while the two parents worked for $5 an hour average. And yeah, had a good childhood. So I'm a Christian. I'm a father. I'm a husband. Husband first, then father. We have 4 kids, little kids, 6.5 and under. And I run my own business. I work from home a lot. I started off in an apartment building. I got a studio. I got a different studio. I upgraded in the building to a bigger studio. And then we upgraded our house to a house that has a home studio. So I spent a lot of time at home, flexible work schedule, and I make people wow themselves.
So if you roll that back as you were finishing high school, did you know what you wanted to do?
I did know, I know what I wanted to do. Yeah, I knew what I wanted to do, but I didn't end up doing it. So until 11th grade, my parents were very concerned about me, and rightfully so. It wasn't like, oh, I don't know if he's going to be a doctor. It was like, I don't know if he's going to make more than $40,000 a year in his life. I had no interest, and I feel like when people hear that and think about a career, they're like, oh, well, he had no, career interest. I'm saying I had no interest. Like I wasn't obsessed with video games. I wasn't obsessed with sports. I played some tennis with my now brother-in-law. I played chess with a few people. I didn't study chess. I didn't practice tennis really. I was pretty boring. So what changed for me was going into 11th grade. A classical school opened up that was much more rigorous than the homeschooling. This homeschooling actually set me up to adjust to that very well. But I think the last story I read for literature in 10th grade was Billy and the Raccoons. It was 20 pages. And then the first book I read in 11th grade was the Aeneid.
Oh, wow.
So I struggled for a couple of weeks and then caught up, and I was doing fine. So obviously the homeschooling was good on the fundamentals. It just wasn't challenging me. So the challenge of school was actually brought me to, at the end of 11th grade during the summer, I bought with my own money Plato's Republic and read that, really surprising my parents. And I decided I wanted to go to law school, do a career in law, and then run for federal office after the career in law. And I didn't make it all the way there, but that was the plan.
So did you do the schooling though? Did you go off to college?
I went to college. I did philosophy, which is good prep for law school. I did humanities, and I minored in criminal justice because I had that interest. Couldn't get into a great law school, so I went to University of Oxford for a master's in criminology and criminal justice in their law department. Still couldn't get into a good law school. So I went and I was a paralegal in New York City, and that opened my eyes that once I met some lawyers, I decided I didn't want to be a lawyer. I met my wife there. So I met my wife and I saved, $250,000 on law school. So those two benefits and I was out. So I just skipped into the political world for a bit.
And then you said that was an interest you had yourself to possibly run for office. Is that why you got involved in the political world then?
Yeah. Yeah. I was following politics. It's important. And I wasn't old enough to run for federal office yet. So I just decided to work on campaigns. And my political campaign was abysmal. I worked on campaigns that some of them had a chance, but most of them were long shots. So I lost 4 campaigns in a row, had a couple in between jobs in there that one was a sales job. Now I'm in sales for myself. I didn't sell anything. We're trying to sell hiring, recruiting kind of for DC companies, and we were in New Hampshire. So people were asking like, well, if you specialize in this, why are you in New Hampshire? But I don't know. I mean, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. So 3 months after they let me go, and I ended up looking for jobs from Washington, D.C. to New Hampshire in the legal field and politics, in manual labor. And I looked for months, Craigslist, everything I could do. And I ended up, the only job offer I got was to do lawn sprinkler repair and installation back in the town where my wife lived, not my wife at the time. And so I was like, I guess I'm doing that. So it's 5.5 day work weeks out in a very hot summer in New Jersey. But that led me to my first campaign. So anyway, lost 4 campaigns, but I got 3 campaigns of communications experience, which allowed me to come to the Hill. I wanted to win with one of my candidates and come to DC and work for them, but they didn't win. So I spent 2 years there, and my boss lost re-election. He had won 3 times and lost the 4th time. So I was there for a year and 11 months and a week or 2. And that meant my TSP wasn't fully vested, and I didn't really get all the benefits of that. So I thought about asking my boss if he could ask someone who got reelected that's friends with him if they could like hire me to take out the trash for like a couple of weeks, or like, $10 a week is be fine. And then I worked on a nonprofit for a year and a half and got into headshots at the same time. And then at the end of my time there, they fired me, and that's how I went full time. So I was like, too much losing. I'm getting tired of losing.
Wow. And then, so did you, at what point did you have the idea to start your own company?
It was just at the end of my time on the Hill with the congressman that I got kind of backed into a headshot session. I was in 2014. I was on the campaign for the Air Force colonel I mentioned before we started this, and I got into photography because 6 years prior, my mom had posted a comment about photos I had taken. I was in London for a semester, and she said, "You might be good at photography," and that stuck with me for 6 years. And so I had picked up a camera. I had gotten the basics down about how to compose and use the camera to get a well lit shot. And so I wanted to make money with it. And I was friends with a realtor. He offered me to shoot. Well, I wanted to get into real estate photography, so I asked him if I could photograph some of his houses. He said he had a guy, so he didn't need the pictures, but he let me go into 4 or 5 of his houses to practice. And what he does is when someone buys or sells a house with him, he gives them a thank you gift of a photo shoot. And about that time, his photographer for that was leaving. He said, "Do you want to do this? It's $100. You just go and take some pictures. Usually it's the new family and the family in the new house once they get it set up, but could be something else sometimes." And I didn't want to photograph people. That's all I thought I knew about building a business with photography. No people. But I said, yes, I will do that. So, and the first guy wanted headshots, and he was one of President Obama's national security advisors,
Oh,
one of the nine. So my first paid job as a photographer took me through White House security into the executive office building next door. And I was in press communications at the time. So he showed me the press room and the Oval Office after. So pretty cool first job. It didn't go terribly, terribly. So I found a mentor who unlocked everything for me. He's considered the best headshot photographer in the world. And I learned how to do headshots from him. So I was initially like no people whatsoever. And now I'm like specializing in the face, which is could be awkward if you're not good at it.
well, and talk a bit about that. So, I mean, a lot of people, just take a photo, right? They throw it up on Facebook or LinkedIn or whatever. What's the difference, right? Here's your sales pitch, right?
There we go. Okay, I'm getting ready. I'm a facial expression coach, so I do have great lighting. I know what I'm doing there. People who see my work see that. I have the professional gear, but I'm not going to tell people to say cheese. I actually teach them about their face, and that enables me to coach them directly while I'm looking through the lens to tell them what to do with their eyes and mouth for more serious expressions.
Hmm.
I also make them laugh. So pretty much everyone except for my wife thinks I'm very funny. So I get people laughing, and then I love those photos, but that's not what we're after. The reason to get laughs is that people fade through their smiles, big, medium, and small as they come back. People
Hmm.
don't go. they, they have to fade. So those are real, genuine, big smiles, which are usually not able to be faked even with good coaching, except if it's humorous.
Hmm.
And so that's how I get expressions that are also on the friendly, happy side. So we have the serious stuff and we have the friendly stuff, happy. And I review images with them. They get to learn from seeing their photos. Even if I don't say anything, they would learn stuff. For example, that they thought they were smiling a little bit, but they don't seem to be smiling at all visibly. So they learn they need to smile a little bit more for those small smiles sometimes. They get to hear my analysis of the shots. So they understand headshots and expressions better as we go. And they get to tell me what they're liking and not liking. I could love a big smile of someone, show them the first image with a big smile that's awesome, and they could tell me that their teeth disgust them and it's just the worst. They're very insecure about them. And I'd say most of the time when people say that, I don't know what they're talking about. Their teeth look fine,
Right.
maybe not signing up for tooth modeling, but I hadn't thought of their teeth before. They seem fine to me. But I have also found that when I tell people, I think your teeth are okay, they don't say, oh, wow, that's awesome. I thought my teeth were bad, but now that you've said they're okay, I'm glad. I like them. Yeah. And so it's not about changing their opinion. It's about coaching them to what they like and what they're comfortable with. So I do let them know if I think their teeth are fine and they don't like them, but um, I coach towards their preferences. At the end of the session, I help them delete images and we end up with the best of the best.
Wow. And then how did creative transitions come about?
Creative transitions was basically, well, I married into a family. My brother-in-law now is an Army sniper. He's a retired, he's a veteran now, but he was an Army sniper in Afghanistan. And I had the campaign with the retired Air Force colonel. So that had upped my appreciation for the military community. Um, and I was realizing I have this skill. I'm building a business. I'm charging for this. I'm raising my prices, getting better, learning how to coach people and get them better shots than if they were told to smile. And I can do it quickly too. If I have 3 minutes with the average person, I can get a headshot that I'm proud of and that they love. So I figured the the best way I could help the military community was especially for transitioning members of the military, but others too, uh, was to help them with their headshots. There's a growing appreciation for and valuing of headshots in people who are transitioning from the military, but I think a lot of them wouldn't be my clients because they don't value it as much as I do. So I figured even if they value it much less, if I'm giving it to them and they use it, if they use it on LinkedIn, for example, it's going to help them as much whether they think it's worth $200 or $1,000. It doesn't matter how much they think it's worth or how much they'd spend on it. It can help them. So for 4 years in a row, I held my own event. I got a sponsor to give me a building to use, maybe a staff member to sign people in. And I had one day a year, it was around Veterans Day, where I open it up to eventually the veterans, transitioning service members, and military spouses. So I probably photographed 150 people like that. In the fourth year, there was a Marine veteran who's also a videographer, and he came through. He offered a video to help me promote the event for the next time, which I thought was awesome. And we got talking, and he said he saw like the sharing of resources, the networking happening in the waiting room. He loved his headshot. He saw other people love their headshots. And he said, we could do more than this. I could do the video component. We could do intro videos for the same crowd. We could have a job fair. And I was like, no. It's very simple this way. I don't have to worry about funding it with sponsors. I don't have to put in as much work. I just show up one day a year and do it. And that's it. It's simple. And he's like, come on. So I'm like, okay. He said, I'll help you. So we launched the Career Development Convention, which is a hiring fair, has educational components to it, like resume reviews, LinkedIn reviews. We have speakers. We have had speakers. We're rethinking the formatting this year, and headshots and video profiles and networking. And it's been for 2 years at the Army Navy Country Club in Arlington. So that's been successful. And the change we're thinking of for this coming year is that we're going to have a job fair on day 2. And the previous day, we're going to have all the resources to get them the new headshot, the video, the LinkedIn review, the resume review, the consultation about how to talk about your military experience and translate it to the private sector, helping you figure out what kinds of jobs you want, information about how to update or attain security clearances, all that, as much as we can think of that would help them get ready for the job fair so that they're more prepared and the employers are more likely to hire people on the spot or soon after. So it's exciting. It's exciting to be able to help, but it basically comes down to, I appreciate what the military community does, and I can help them in a relatively brief way, in a very impactful way. The best review I've ever gotten was from that 4th year, from a guy. He wrote 10 paragraphs in his review, and he said it changed who he saw himself to be and what he wanted to do with his life. And I spent 3 minutes with him.
Wow, that's amazing.
It's crazy.
Wow. So as you've gone through your career, and it's been pretty interesting, pretty varied, pretty challenging at times, what's something that if you look back and went, man, I wish that I'd done that differently, or I wish the industry was, different in this way. What might that, and we came to you, Jon, and said, Jon, you have the power to make a change that could make things better for people now. What's something you might change about how that has happened for you in your career?
Talking about the photography industry?
It could be photography. It could just be in general, right? The challenges you've had in some of your.
A few things come to mind, or at least a couple things. I took a career aptitude test in 10th or 11th grade. I think it was 10th, because my parents were like, you need to take this to figure out if there's something you can do to make money. And there's just no, I don't think there were any results from any of those tests that anyone took that suggested entrepreneurship. It's like you're a lawyer or a banker or a doctor or whatever, a technician of something, or, whatever. So I think it's weird as someone who has, grown up around people with salaries and jobs, to think that you could, growing up, you're like, what would I do that would make $50,000 a year? I don't like, man, that's a lot of money. But you don't understand, if you have a good business idea, then you can make money, and you're not held to one person paying you all the money that you get.
Right.
I can make as much money as I can convince the DC metro area and really the world. People have come from Brazil and Canada, and someone's planning their headshot session coming from England. So it's like, the world is connected more than before. So you can make as much money as you can convince everyone to give you. You don't have to find one person who will give you a great salary. So that's one thing. I would encourage people who are thinking very clearly that they need a job that maybe they don't. Think about what you might want to do on your own. In terms of photography, I think that it would be great if more photographers were good at business. I find that people who tend to probably get into photography, I don't know, it's a cheap hobby to get into, it's a cheap business to start. I feel like they don't have the best mindset around money and business. It's kind of a race to the bottom for a lot of people. So I think I'm working on business education for photographers so that they can do it full time, so that they provide well for their families, so they have, they're not shooting every moment during the week. Good work-life balance and make more money than they are now. So I'm working on that. I'm working on changing that.
I think I saw you had some sort of Facebook group around that sort of thing.
Yes, I teach people about how I run my business and how I market myself, and people are seeing results. So that's cool. It means a lot to me. Photography changed my life. So
yeah, and it's a bit unusual to mentor those who could compete with you, right, in the future. But with that risk comes the satisfaction, if you will, of helping people in their careers.
Well, I think I'm on the expensive side. So if people around me are raising their prices, that means that yes, some of my clients that would have come to me would go to them, but it raises the level of the industry, and it makes people think, oh wow, he's expensive, and then they go to someone else that I've influenced, and they're pretty expensive too. And hopefully they just like me more than the other person. So I'm not concerned about that. I've actually helped when I had my last studio space. I helped someone 2 doors down the hall from me who was a headshot photographer who had earned. I guess I won't go into his numbers, but I helped grow his business. He took a couple tips from me about how to price, how to run his business, how to get clients, and he went up about 5 times.
Wow.
In his sales in 1 year. I didn't notice my business going down because he was getting more business. It's a big market, and I'm just not worried about competition like that.
So what's next for you in this coming year?
We're very excited about changing up the career development convention and getting more sponsors on board. We're looking for sponsors. We're focused on cleared talent, high level positions. So if you're interested in hiring someone like that, get in touch. Personal stuff, we got the first child is in 1st grade, and we've got her going to 2nd. We've got the 2nd child going into kindergarten. We're going to Macedonia, it looks like, for a wedding. My brother-in-law is getting married, and she's from Macedonia. So we'll go over there. Might make it a 2-week thing, hit Greece too or something.
Oh, nice.
So that's exciting. We've never flown with the kids, and they love planes, so it should be fun, at least for the first 10 minutes. Yeah, those are the big things. I'm just continuing to grow my business. We're trying to be financially sound and pay down debt and live within our means, or even less than our means, and make some headway on this.
Wow. Well, Jon, thank you for sharing about your journey and about the business you started. And I will definitely make sure there are links in the description for people who are interested in checking that out. And thank you for coming on the podcast.
Thanks, Jeremy. Appreciate you.